Here is my Mastery 7 guide on Azir. I don't know how to transition this. Azir is a very unique champion because he is the Emperor of Shurima. That means he gets to use his slaves to do all the hard work for him. They do everything from autoing for Azir to moving Azir around the map. For how Azir's kit works, let's start with his W. His W is Rise, slaves. Azir summons a Sand Soldier. The Sand Soldier auto attacks in place of Azir in their range, and the soldier's auto attacks do magic damage in the line, doing reduced damage to targets you do not click on but also happen to be in the line of the auto attack. The soldiers are also untargetable and they last 9 seconds, but they only last half the time when under enemy tower because apparently they are just a bunch of scary cats when they are untargetable. They also disappear when Azir moves too far away from them. Their soldiers is on a charge based system and you can hold up to 2 of them at a time. Each soldier does 25% damage to a single target. Also, having 3 soldiers out at a time will give you extra attack speed for a few seconds and can be reset by placing another soldier down when you have 3 or more soldiers out. And here is some W move numbers. Okay, whew. Did you get all that? Well, you better, because that's just the first ability. His Q is faster, slaves. Azir can move all the soldiers towards a location. If you send more than 1 soldier, they also spread out at the location. Enemies that get hit by more than 1 soldier do not take extra damage for each soldier, but does increase the slow for each soldier, and here is some Q move numbers. His E is Tokyo Drift. Azir dashes to a soldier and gains a shield. He also stops at the first champion he hits with it, and if he does hit a champion with his E, he would gain another charge of his W if it's not fully charged already. Here is some E move numbers. Lastly, his ult is Everyone Go That Way. Azir summons a wall of soldiers holding shields that pushes everyone away from Azir. Champions can still dash through the wall once the soldiers stop moving. Azir and his teammates can walk through the wall still with no problems, and here is some R move numbers. I bet you are wondering something about Azir though. What about his passive? Well, you think I forgot about that? Just because I said lastly his ult does not mean I am done. Azir's passive is inserting your dominance. When a tower dies, you can right click on the rebel to summon another tower that scales with Azir's stats. The tower gives Azir all the gold it earns. This tower can be placed on any of your own towers or any of the enemy towers that are not Nexus or Inhibitor towers. Here is your passive move numbers. So for skills, I max Q, then W, then E, and of course your ult whenever you can. I max Q on Azir because this is what you use to get your soldiers where they need to be, and you will need to reposition your soldiers a lot during the game. I max W second because it allows you to get more soldiers and allows you to have up to 3 soldiers at once more often, so you can get that extra attack speed buff more often. I max E last because it's not as important as other abilities and you won't need to use it as much as other abilities as well. So now you know what Azir's abilities do. What's he really like in game? Well, Azir is a mid to long range mage that is great at almost everything. He can engage fights with things like the Shurima Shuffle. He can disengage fights by ulting the enemy away and dashing using his E if he needs to. He can poke with his Q and has great consistent damage with his soldiers. He can also prevent the enemy from flanking your team by putting down his passive tower. He can also use his tower to slow down the enemy's push by giving them another tower to kill. He also has great wave clear since his soldiers' autos are AoE and his Q also does AoE damage. He has an okay early game and then he becomes a monster late game. There's just so much this champion can do, it's hard to name all of them. So, early game on Azir. It's just a farm fest. You need to farm and get as much gold as possible since he scales so well with items. Also, try not to roam too much. As Azir, you don't offer too much in early fights. If your laner does roam, it usually is better to just stay back, farm, and try to get some tower plates. Of course, this does not mean you do not need to help your jungler at things like Skeletal, especially if they're like 2 seconds away from your lane. This does not mean you do not need to do anything when your laner roams as well. Try to warn your team with missing pings and that your laner is gone, and also try to ping that you're going to try to get tower plating. Once mid game comes around, you should start to roam a bit more since you should be strong enough to make a bigger impact on fights. Try not to die while doing this, and it would be good if you could pick up a few kills for yourself to help you scale into your insane late game. Late game. This is where Azir shines. In late game fights, you're just an APC. You got to stay behind your front line and just auto attack what's in front of you. You do not need to attack the most valuable target on the enemy team most of the time. If you do see opportunity, however, to shuffle the enemy team by catching them off guard, you can, but not unless you're sure it will work, since you could just engage the enemy team for them. Okay, now it's time for combos. In lane, a basic combo you can do is W on top of your laner, auto attack as much as you can, and then when they try to run away, you can use your Q to keep your soldier on them to continue autoing. So probably the most well-known Azir combo is this Shurima Shuffle. So how do you do this? Well, first you put down a soldier to do something like, for example, farm. If the enemy tries to walk up to do something like poke you or CS your minions, you will E to that soldier. Then right before you hit, you will Q towards the enemy, and then once you land, you will ult them backwards. Keep in mind though that you don't always have to try to shuffle in every fight. Sometimes it's just better to keep your ult so that I could use it to peel. Now for runes. There are a lot of runes Azir can take. Personally, I like to go Arcane Comet with Manifold Band, Transcendence, and Scorch in the sorcery tree. I like to take Inspiration secondary, taking Cosmic Insight and Futures Market. You can also go Precision or Domination secondary, taking these runes. That is not the only rune setup you can take. That is just what I take most often. You can also go Domination, taking Hail Blades with Taste of Blood, Eyeball Collection, and Raven's Hunter. Secondary, you would go Sorcery, taking Manifold Band and Scorch. The last rune page I think you could go on Azir is Lethal Tempo with Presence of Mind, Legend of Alacrity, and taking Coup de Grace. For secondary runes, you would go Domination, taking Taste of Blood and Ravenous Hunter. Personally, I just like going Precision and Lethal Tempo on Azir because it takes so much power away from Azir's already pretty weak early game and puts it into his already strong late game. I think it is better to go with the other two rune setups because that makes your early game not as weak. You can still go lethal if you want to, but it will really only work if you could go at least even with your lane opponent. Now for builds. Your first two items can either be Ludens or Nashers, or if you want to be like me, you could build both. I like to go Ludens into Nashers because Ludens gives me the early mana I need with a bit of extra wave clear and burst. I then build Nashers because Azir loves attack speed, AP, and CDR, and Nashers gives all three of those. After that, my build depends on what the enemy team has. If you have a lot of AP, then I will build Nashers, and if they have a lot of AD or Assassins, I will build Zanyas. Lots of healing and tanks, then I will go Morels and Void Staff. And if you just want damage, you can always go Death Cap. Here are some other suggested items depending on situations. Okay, real quick, let's talk about what summoner spells to take on Azir. First of all, you have to have Flash. If you don't take Flash on Azir, what is wrong with you? Your other summoner spell depends on the enemy team and your own play style. If you would like to play safe, or if the enemy team has things like Assassins, you should probably go Healer Barrier. If you like to play aggressive, you should probably take Ignite. If the enemy team has tons of CC, you should probably take Cleanse. You can also go TP because it's all around a great summoner spell. So that was my Mastery 7 guide on Azir. I hope you enjoyed it and it helped.